Whatever you do, General Tire delivers.
Has there ever been too much of a good thing? Not for this track, if you ask us. After a stunning finish on Thursday, we return for back-to-back racing at Wild West Motorsports Park. Will it deliver more thrills? And who has learned from what we saw previously? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the makeup race for round 2 of the 2023 General Tire National Series. And you'll see it all live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is the voice of off-road, Dave Arnold. Behind the scenes is Cameron Auberdon on social media, and our producer, Ryan Bauer, who's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now, Dave, we come to this track again pretty quickly, but in case we had anybody who missed the last one, why don't we head to Google Earth and talk a little bit about what this place brings?
Yeah, one of the things it brings is a lot of elevation, and I love the elevation changes. You get a lot of high speed, a lot of jumping going on, and I think with the 180s, it didn't disappoint last week when we saw it with all that the tying. It got a little rough. We were kind of at first, they were a little timid, the first couple ones. Once we got in the LCQs and the mains, then we saw a lot of action.
Definitely saw plenty, and also some great battles as we take a look at the track at 1.5 miles in length, just under 2.5 kilometers, with, as you heard Dave mention, only 4 turns, and every single one of them is a hairpin. So it's going to offer lots of over-under opportunities, but also quite a bit of high speed up and down the sides of this huge quarry that was made into a racetrack. So watch out for lots of passes, or at least pass attempts on this track, but not necessarily successful ones over the course of the racing. Speaking of which, here's your race analysis. Heat races with 6 laps each, up to 4 heats that we'll see. I don't think we have enough drivers for a full 4 tonight, but we'll see what they put together. They will have 2 LCQs, though. Those are going to be even shorter, at only 4 laps. And it's the top 3 are going to be going to the final, and then the bottom 3 of those heat races have to compete in these LCQs to determine who gets to go to the feature as well. And then for the feature, a full 22 laps, along with a competition caution at the end of lap 11. So plenty of racing action to keep us entertained for tonight, but one thing that's kept us entertained is the championship. Even having missed what would have been round 2, which we're making up for tonight, from what we've seen, it is Connor Berry leading Keaton Swain still after Swain had a good finish, but we'll see if Swain can make up for that second place from on Thursday, Dave, and go up one step higher and finally take that win.
Yeah, and I think he's going to try and do that again. You know he's got a good groove. He's right back at it. But you got to wonder if Connor Berry has learned some new things. He knows everybody's gotten faster. I don't know if you can find a faster way around this track, though. That's the biggest thing. But you got to see if it's lesson learned. But Swain is going to have to keep a couple more drivers between him and Berry if he even has a chance at the championship.
Right now, I'm seeing Berry at the top of the timing sheets currently, and by about 200ths of a second. It's extremely tight out there. So, yeah, I'd say everybody did learn something as Liebert is going to finish another lap and goes quicker than before. So that'll bump him up into the top 5. Now back down the hill, heading into turn 2. This is where a lot of the action happened, and unfortunately for a lot of drivers, Dave, this second corner certainly seemed to cause a little bit of woe. We saw so many hit that K-rail and actually flip themselves over.
I think their biggest enemy out there is the K-rails. I mean, they're immovable objects out there. When these trucks come in contact, you're either going to high side yourself to, like we talked about, a little 50-50 slide around there. But the big thing is staying off the wall. But every once in a while, you're going to have to take that chance to dive on the inside. It's only these little daylight, you got to roll the dice.
I have no doubt we're going to see people attempt that as Liebert's second lap, unfortunately less than a tenth off of before, but he doesn't improve. Swain, for that matter, is unable to go quicker than his first lap, but that first lap was good enough for 4th place and just about a tenth of a second off of Connor Berry. We're watching Plumley, though, in the meantime, who is currently 7th. Now, this will set their positions for the heats. So, yes, he might be 7th on the timing sheets, but he will start higher up within his heat itself. And as the VR user starts on his 3rd flying lap, actually, no, this will be starting his 4th flying lap. So this is his last chance. Let's see if he can make his way up into the front rows.
Yeah, and you really got to watch those lines that he's taking. I think that's so key. He's going to try and hit all the right marks.
Nice and tight coming down through turn 2, and it's back up the hill briefly before a pretty steep climb here all the way up to turn 4. And these last 2 hairpins a little bit wider than those first 2, so they can carry a little bit more speed as he leaps over the jump, and then a second one before he has to chuck it down into 4. And he'll be among the last drivers to be able to set a time here, so should hopefully not be overtaken by many if he does improve his position. Let's see what he's got as he crosses the beam. It's a 50.032, literally 2,000 slower than his only other timed lap. So that's not going to do it. Salas is back, though. The eNASCAR driver, once again, hitting the dirt and currently has put himself into 16th.
Well, I think it's really, this is really great setting up the qualifying, getting good times here. But when we get to the heat races, that's where it's really going to come down to it. I know qualifying is going to hopefully get you a better position in qualifying. So the guy usually we've seen that gets out front, gets that good start, gets through turn 1 and 2 clean, usually he's going to be in the top 1 or 2 positions. We're going to be seeing that again tonight. We saw it last round, actually Thursday. So these guys, this one's fresh in their mind, and I guarantee you, they've all been playing on this track all weekend long.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about, you talk about the importance of track position. Miller, once he got that lead, just would not give it away to Swain, no matter how much he pestered him. So yeah, I have a feeling you're right that getting in front is going to be critical, as that appears to be the last of our laps. So we just wait for the drivers to have the clock tick down. Then they're going to be slotted into their heats, and we'll go through the first of the starting grids here today. Of course, before we get to that, we'll have a special presentation in a bit as well. Looks like they are now gridded up, and we will get a full 4 heats for this one. So it's going to be a much smaller group of cars that advance through, which does increase your chances. While they finish gridding up, we do, of course, have our national anthem. Let's go to that for our country song.
Oh, say, can you see so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rugged red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And now it's time to go through our starting grid for the first heat. Connor Berry has managed to take the pole this time, not just on this heat, but overall, as Jarrett Liebert will start from second. Tyson Miller, the feature winner from last race, will start from third, and Scott Kerr will be P4. Paul Mikolajic starts fifth today, Cody Wieniecki in sixth, and Bryce Simino will be in the seventh position. We saw 10 cars competing last time for the heats to try and make it in those top three. This time it is a lot fewer, which again will help you out because you only have to be essentially in the top half of the field this time, Dave.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is actually smart of them to spread them out a little bit. When you get that many trucks and heat races, it just gets tough racing there. I mean, I want to see as many people be able to have a chance to qualify, is what we're going to say there. But it's still going to be tough. There's not going to be anything easy about this track whatsoever.
Yeah, the more the merrier, but some people will have to go home, unfortunately, as per the rules, as they should be taking off in just a bit here. And then we'll get going. There we go. Looks like the pace truck is on its way, and the number 2 leads them up to turn 4. You'll see it take off prematurely, and everybody has to wait until they get to the starting grid, or the starting area, if you will, starting zone that they have marked off for the drivers. They know where it is. They're going to have to wait here just before the jump, and now they're on their way as the green flag waves and heads off into turn 1 for the first time tonight. Berry covers the inside. Liebert can't get down there, and he's got Miller trying to poke his nose.
Yeah, Miller with a great run up the inside there. It's going to be side-by-side battling for second place here, as Berry's going to set up in that prime position to come down, and so I like to call the preferred line. Oh, Miller gets a little boot out there. Looks like Kerr trying to come a little hot there, but Lieber's now going to move right up into that position.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a hip check there, I think, from Scott Kerr that gave them the bump. And Mikolajic is going to try and take advantage of it. We're on board with Scott now, and he's got the 177 down to his inside as they fly into turn 4. He's going to leave him the space, and they'll come off clean. Right now, last transfer position goes to Miller, while Liebert and Berry are in front of him.
Yeah, it's a good run there. You can see him starting to stretch out there in single file lines there. Pretty much, I think the positions have been established here. You know, it is 6 laps. We got some time there. I think the biggest battles we're going to see between Miller and Liebert.
Yeah, they're going to have to fight and claw to try and take spots from here on out, as in the back, Mikolajic gets a run from Simino, who pounds into the inside wall and falls well behind them, unfortunately. But a bit of a challenge from Miller up there in that bright red number 90 on Jarrett Liebert now. He wants out of this bubble position to try and make things a little bit safer.
Well, I guarantee you that Miller has these lines from last week just memorized in his brain right now. They're burned in there. But, Liebert, he's quick, he's going to be tough to pass. He's going to get those elbows about 10 feet wide through every corner right now.
Yeah, interesting to see Miller on the opposite end of the equation.
Yes.
Here trying to fight for the spot instead of defending. And they are losing touch with Connor Berry quite quickly, which is bad news for everybody else, because when he leads, it tends to be nobody else having a whiff of the win that night.
Yeah, and that's what, we see that a lot here at this track once somebody gets out front right now, because so many of these guys are battling. They're concentrating the trucks in front of them, behind them. It's in their head. You got clean air out front. You just keep pretty much walk away with this one.
Well, we had our first victim of the K-Rail. It was Cody Winiecki, unfortunately. Turned it on, it's lit, he had to take a tow. Again, he will get another opportunity when we go to the LCQ. It's going to make life a little bit harder for him as we fly into turn one. Once again, big gap, and we're only halfway into this race. Let's take a look at what happened to Cody here.
It looks like he just went he just kind of squared the corner off and just clipped it. It's what happened. Another great name for the K-Rail there, the Jersey Barrier. And I'm thinking Jersey, I'm thinking concrete, I'm thinking mafia. And they're out there to get you.
Curb stomping people, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right.
Turn him over, and unfortunately, that's part of the night done for Cody. But up at the front, Barry now about a second and a half ahead of Liebert, who's got Miller held at bay. They're going to come down to 2 to go now. Kerr has definitely dropped off as well in that 84. You can see the distance between himself and Tyson, so that's the good news. Tyson may be under not as much pressure to try and take that P2 now.
Yeah, I knew this battle was going to be between Miller and Liebert. Liebert got some good lines there. Tyson will get right up on him, get on his back bumper. But just, every once in a while, Liebert just gets a little stretch and run up this hill. And when he comes off the corner, that's where he accelerates again.
Yeah, just gets off that turn so well that Tyson doesn't seem to have enough of a run, although that one looked pretty good off of 3. Let's see into 4. What happens here? Nope, he's not going to be nearly close enough, and he's going to have to try again later. And this time it is white flag, so later is not going to be all that much for him. He's going to have to do something soon if he wants P2.
Man, I tell you, Barry is just sending it up that hill. There is just nothing slowing him down. But, Liebert and Miller are still there. Barry makes a mistake, and I've seen guys out front just brain fart and spin out, catch a K-Rail. You just never know. You get a little rub right there.
Yeah, great run down into 2. Miller's going to continue to try and see if he can squeeze something out of that number 10 and at least not give up the ghost until the checkered flag falls. But up in front of them, Connor Berry's going to see that one first if all things stay the same here. Bounding into turn 4 and bringing it off the corner. Looks like heat win number 1 goes to the number 2 of Connor Berry. Liebert will take P2 and Miller will advance from 3rd. After that, Scott Kerr, Mikolajic, Simino, and Winiecki will head off to the last chance qualifier, and that is your finishing order for that first heat. So that should take us off to Heat 2 here in a moment. And for that starting grid, it's going to be Nicholas Dachelet, who is on the pole. Trenton Briley starts in 2nd, and Colin Murphy, P3. Felix Roy starts 4th, and it's Zach Drapkin in 5th, and Daniel Aish, P6. Cameron Magashik rounds out your 7 drivers competing in this one. Kind of not too surprised that wasn't a very eventful first race there, Dave. You talked about it. Everybody's had so much practice. It's going to be hard to find inroads, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. And I think, the drivers, they've had a couple seasons now. They know to get, not have contact. And I think one of the best examples was watching Miller and Swain on last Thursday. Swain, so many times you could have stuck his nose in there, could have changed the position on Miller, but he didn't. That's just good, clean, smart driving. Because if you take each other both out, you're not going to finish the race. And now we got championship points at stake. So I think a lot of these drivers up on top. Now, when we get in later into the LCQs, sometimes the gloves are still going to come off, though.
Absolutely. Now, suddenly they've gone single file. What's going on here?
Yeah, I just noticed that.
Oh, they've extended it. Not sure why exactly this has happened, but
now they're going to catch up.
Yeah, they're catching up. They're adding another pace lap here. So They'll go around one more time, and then I'm not sure if this will limit it down to 5 laps or if they'll still be able to do all 6 under green flag conditions. But regardless, at least we'll get a double file start like we're supposed to. The only thing about the cleaner racing that I will say, I wonder if the fact that it has become so hard to try and get by somebody, if that makes turns 1 and 2 all the more important, if we'll see drivers get aggressive into those.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think you're going to see a little bit more aggression, especially when we get into the main event. LCQs to main events, it's usually where it's going to get there. And I know some of the points, I know some of the drivers are sitting up top on points. We're going to see a lot cleaner driving out of them than you will somebody that's lower in points. I mean, I'm just going to be honest, that's the way it is.
And Swain is definitely one that needs them. Not seeing him or Barry in this race, but nope, we don't have Plumlee out here in this one, actually. Trying to see if we get anybody in this split that's up towards the top of the points. I think Briley is the highest, and he's sitting in 6th. So this is filled with a lot of drivers that basically have nothing to lose. So, yeah, there we go. That would be a good excuse. As green flag is out, the pace truck took a while to get going. Now he's heading in as everybody dodges around the outside. I don't think they can actually hit that car. Thankfully, as they come out of the first turn, very close between Dashalet and Briley, but Trenton's unable to take the position.
Well, I'm waiting to see that Dashalet, and of course, good booted. He made a mistake, hit that K-rail though, got his truck sideways.
He did a little bit of a barrel roll, keeps on going, and behind it all, Zach Drapkin, I think, also went over, but thankfully landed on the rubber. So Briley now leads the race. Roy gets promoted in the second. Dashalet is actually still in a transfer spot.
Hey, not too bad. Sometimes better be lucky than good. Briley goes really wide there. It looks like Felix Roy able to get up there. Now he sees the inside. He might be able to take advantage of that. He's going to keep an eye on his inside now. I think Briley's just a little excited after that. What just happened?
I think he actually got a bit of a shove from Roy that sent him far. So Roy maybe trying not to take the position, thinking he would get a penalty if he tried to overtake him there, as they now fly down into the second turn, and they're actually bumping nose to tail, getting so slow through there.
Oh man, what a great shot from Murphy as we look behind and see these lines how they set up, kind of almost like a ballet. The front tires stay in that right inside groove, the back tires just kind of come around to find, looking for that traction up the hill.
It might look wild, but there's still so much control underneath the drivers out here, with Dashalet currently in the transfer spot there in 3rd, trying to see if he can get back past Roy. Good news for him is that Murphy's not super close, but if he does make a failed attempt, he could bring him into it. Well, there's an attempt right there out of 2, and it doesn't succeed.
Yeah, it's one of these things, they're so touchy, these trucks, and people don't realize unless you actually driven one. The front-wheel drive helps you, can save you a lot of times, but still, see right there, this is a good example how Roy was able to keep that front end just pulling him around, got him straight back out. But it was a good little punch there by Dashalet.
But boy, Roy is kind of had his fill at this stage. I heard him get on the radio, ask Nicholas if he's using a single pedal set tonight. So I think he's sick of becoming everybody's brake. And as he comes around, this time he won't get punted. He's going to probably try and take off away from that 23.
Brakes, who needs brakes? Like rearview mirrors, you don't need those either.
Exactly. I think it was Mario Andretti that said,
yes.
I'm surprised drivers think that brakes are for slowing down as they come around turn 1 once again down the hill. Yeah, they've managed to separate each other, but look at how much this has pulled them away from Briley. He's gotten ahead by 2 seconds nearly.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised, Drapkin, he's been a winner at this track in the past, in the previous series. He knows how to do it. Briley, he's out front. He knows how to get out. But I think right now that battle between Dashalet and Roy, slowing him down a little bit. It's allowed Briley just to kind of sneak away. But I'm kind of shocked the Drapkins all the way back there. But he did get caught up in that earlier incident.
He seems unhappy about where he sits, too. You can see him gesturing in frustration as he tries to get by Magashik, but can't seem to do anything. So we'll see if maybe we get another risky move. Well, he actually just hit the wall pretty hard just now as we turned away to our leader once again, to Briley. who takes them back into the second hairpin battle for P2. Rage is on, and once again, Roy is just getting pushed around these turns.
Yeah, Roy's really got a lot of pressure there. You see that gap that Briley has, Dashalet, but I think Murphy's trying to get up there, trying to play pressure to Dashalet. The question is, if we get close enough, will Roy be able to pull away a little bit and get a little bit of breathing room?
Indeed, as Colin tries to catch back up to that number 23. We're going to come to the white flag. 1 to go now. And so now Magashik's had a problem and gone over. He gets it righted, and he's going to finish behind Drapkin. Not sure if those two came together or what happened. We'll try and find that out a little bit later. But Briley is still easily ahead of his rivals with no one even close to touching him. Looks like we got a replay here of the incident. Let's see what happened to Magashik. Oop, too much of, yeah, the little, I don't know, the berm, I guess you'd call it there on the inside. Not really a curb, but just sent him over.
Yeah, he just unfortunately caught it, and it popped his front end up. Sometimes you can let off the pedal a little bit, it'll actually unload the suspension and kind of slingshot you into the air.
Trent Briley's going to take the second heat win, with Felix Roy finishing second, and then Nicholas Dashalet going to transfer on in through the P3. Colin Murphy finishes fourth, Daniel Aish fifth, Zach Drapkin sixth, and Magashik brings it home last on that heat. There is your finishing order. Top three automatically will move to the feature. Others will head to the LCQ, which we still have two more heats to get there. Up next, we've got heat number 3. And in this one, we do have a few of our front runners. Jacob Raffis is on the pole. Christopher Plumley, who sits third in the points, actually tied for third in the points right now, is going to be starting in second. Keith Jeffrey will begin in at P3. It's Justin Kay in fourth, followed by Mason Prater in the fifth position. John Binder starts sixth, and James Burke, will be in the seventh spot. So we get all lined up and ready to go once again. Watch out for that bright purple number 36 of Plumley on the front row. Needs to try and make up a lot of points to catch Barry, but not as many to catch Swain. So they do score them in these heats, and it's important for him to try and finish ahead of Raffis.
Oh, absolutely. Every point, matters there. It gives you a better position in the main event there. You don't want to have to go to the LCQ. There's like 3 big factors right there.
Right, up and around. I think we will thankfully start this one with double file like we should. A single, well, not even a single pace lap, more like a quarter of a pace lap, as there goes the truck. Green flag is out. Plumley goes nowhere. He is caught napping, and Jeffrey is going to be able to sprint ahead, likely into P2. As long as he can make this corner, he gets a little bit of a shove, and Plumley goes straight to the back as he goes wide.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't the way for Plumley wanted to start there. He was like just sleeping on the line there for a second. But Raffis, great reaction time there. And Keith Jeffrey right up there. You can see Prater also trying to get up in the mix. Little bumping going on there.
And he's around the outside. Can he get the grip off the corner? It's looking pretty good. He might be able to steal second off of Jeffrey. No, he starts to streak ahead. The 88 now has a full truck length in front of the 50 as they fly down into turn 4. Plumley already going by Binder to try and make up for lost ground.
And the incredible thing, Prater at one time was the guy that chased down to try and beat out there. Now he's pretty much, on even playing ground with all the rest of these drivers. Everybody stepped their game up so much, but Prater trying to do everything he can to hold on to that third position as Kay tries to make a move on the outside.
Gets very close. Oh, he gets hooked on him. Oh no, that slows everybody down. And now the battle for third is suddenly far separated from P2, but Kay has got the position.
Okay, now Burke up into that fourth position. Prater all the way back to fifth. And Justin Kay's going, hey, I don't know what just happened, but I'll take it.
Sometimes weirdness can happen, especially with sim racing. He gets a hip check, though, as into the side. That's James Burke nearly managing to get up into the transfer spot. There's going to be some hungry drivers who want this position. Prater especially I'm still trying to figure out if maybe it was netcode or what, but the truck just would not turn right into our right-hand corner.
Yeah, it just kept on going on.
As we fly over the jump down into that same turn once again. Now everybody, well, nope, not everybody's going to make the turn. That is going to be Justin Kay, who now finds himself back in 5th, and once again using up the roof of the truck.
And Prater's moving his way back up again, too. Back into the 4th position. Burke's still holding on to that final transfer spot, and that's where the bullseye is right now. That's being on the bubble.
And if Prater can get back into P3, this will be impressive, although he has trouble with the berm on the inside himself. He was pressuring Burke constantly, but that little hiccup has cost him. Back up into turn 1 once again. Burke trying to stay out of those behind him so that he doesn't get turned. It seems like this is the one where it gets fierce, riding on board with Binder, who currently runs last on the field. And once again, truck's having trouble turning into the turn, and it includes Plumlee, who this time cannot make it back to the tires. He's on his lid and he's done.
And now Prater looking at the inside of Burke as they head up that hill. Prater's just got to try and get that fender up to the inside. He knows he's got a quick line through the inside. He knows how to pitch it sideways here, back it in. And there it is. Burke bounces off them. Prater goes into that 3rd position. But look at this. Kay trying to answer back.
Getting rough to try and take that spot back, but Prater gets it for now. Burke on the outside, Kay on the inside. He tries to turn in on him, but he gets shoved out of the way for the 2nd time in 2 corners. Does look like Kay's got it, but I wonder if he's going to get some of his own medicine, as Burke is right there and probably hungry for revenge. There it is.
Yep, I was going to say, he's taking that inside. He's got the shoehorn out.
Says, if you can do that, I can do it too. And that's going to put Burke right back into P4, but this helps Prater tremendously. He's starting to scamper away from the pair of them. Maybe they've lost touch with 2nd place, but if Prater can just get himself enough of a gap, we're going to get the white flag this time by. All he has to do is just cruise home.
And we've already forgotten about Jacob Rathis up front. He's just starting to run away with this. It's like Connor Berry early on. I think he's got a bigger gap between him and Jeffrey than he did earlier.
We reported on it earlier in the season. Rathis, the first driver on the dirt road side of iRacing to get 10K I rating. And I can tell you, it still caught me out when we were loading into this session and I saw 5 digits there. It's still weird to me as we get some more bumping and banging, this time for 4th place.
Yeah, definitely. Kay's trying to turn it up a little bit. And you can see a great shot. You know, Binder's right in that catbird seat, just sitting there watching it all unfold in front of him.
Well, the man who's sitting in the best position is Rathis, who is taking the checkered flag to win heat number 3, as Jeffrey is a distant 2nd, but he will transfer, and Prater has to fight off all comers to find this transfer spot in 3rd. Who's going to be P4 and start up towards the front of their LCQ? Justin Kay, it looks like, as Binder will be right behind him. Burke in 6th, and Plumlee a very sad 7th after starting on the front row of that heat. It just did not seem to go right pretty much everywhere he looked in that one. And we even have to wait for him to try and trickle across the line here. He was so far back, unfortunately, before we can get to the grid for our final heat of the evening. Here we go. We've now got it, and Keaton Swain is going to be starting on the pole of this one. This is the man that's trying to catch Connor Berry. Tom Grady will start from 2nd, as Crystal King will be P3, Vicente Salas P4, and Sean Winkler 5th. Dennis Mickelson starts P5, and Greg Johnson will start from 7th. So we have quite the cast of characters out here. As we mentioned, Swain, one of those fighting for a championship. We've got, of course, Tom Grady, who's usually pretty fast, starting on the front row next to him. Crystal King always puts on a good show, just never seems to fail. She seems to find the action and give us some fun to watch. And then I'm going to keep my eyes on Salas, who I mentioned is an eNASCAR driver, but also used to have a pro license on the rallycross side here in iRacing. Looks like the pace car is in and the green flag is out. Swain is going to try and take advantage and takes off early. Crystal King in 2nd is going to try and hold off Grady. In fact, gets her elbows out, almost gets climbed on top of. I think that may have been Salas.
Yeah, Solis came in a little hot on there. Didn't get on the binders in time, and she was already rotating to the turn. That's, I think a little bit different from NASCAR in the dirt.
Indeed. It can't quite do the bump and run in the same way as they're still beating and banging on each other. Now going 2 by 2 as they come up the hill through 3, but it looks like Grady gets the best of all of them. Solis barely in third as Crystal King has a nose to the inside. Can she finish it in 4?
Well, the question is now, where did Swain go? Wow, look at him just walk away from the rest of the pack right now.
He did. Over under there for Solis and King. Solis has the inside into the next turn. There's only one right-hander out on this track, and that's down into turn 2. So getting on the left-hand side, advantageous, and just no place for Crystal King to take that third away from the 25. Still leaning on each other behind them. That's Winkler and Johnson.
Well, I know he's probably used to making those left turns, Salas is, but when you get to the right, you're going to wonder, is he going to be able to figure it out?
Got to remember those rallycross days, and he's put himself into the transfer spot, so he's doing pretty well.
Yep.
Crystal's probably going to try and come back at him, though. But as you said, Swain is off like a shot, and Grady as well is trying to take advantage of all this craziness behind him. He's about 1.2 seconds ahead of Vic.
It's just absolutely amazing to see them coming off that turnstile up top. To be unsettled that much, to be able to hold the momentum around that turn and then keep the speed up down that hill, just baffles me.
Absolutely, and it's a pretty big leap taking you down as they now head towards 2 once again. And Solis does have quite a bit of pressure from behind as Crystal King gives him a nudge saying, remember me, and is going to try and see if she can somehow squeeze through and not have to vie for that LCQ a little bit later.
Yeah, she's unfortunately had a few times going to the LCQ, but I think last week she actually made it through during a regular heat race.
I think you may be right on that one. I'll have to double check my stats. As Sean Winkler in the 720 in the 5th position behind all of them. Nicholson and Johnson going to wrap up the field behind him. We're past halfway through this race now as they once again hit turn 1. This is the biggest gap we've seen up at the front as here we go. Crystal King and Solis with another little bit of contact. It switches angles down into 2, and this time she's going to hit him from behind instead of in the side. I was going to say the gap up at the front, Swain is 3.5 to 4 seconds ahead of Grady.
Yeah, I mean, Swain's really just going to walk away with this one. I think the battle to watch is the King and Salas battle. See, Tom Grady's got a little breathing room there. You can't even barely just catch a glimpse. Whoa! Getting on the bicycle there a little bit for Grady, but you can catch a glimpse way up top. That's our leader. That's Keaton Swain.
Grady using pretty much all the track, and unfortunately maybe a little too much on that corner. As here we go. Well, this time they didn't make contact down into 1, although Crystal got awful close to that rear fender of Solis. They head back towards turn 2. She's been hitting him in the back each time, but only just lightly. This time it's her that gets a touch as Sean Winkler is starting to approach the back of them as well. So it's not decided quite yet, but Vic still holds the upper hand.
Yeah, you can see it's a good run up there again. He's got a little bit of a gap between him and Crystal King at this point. King trying to look to the inside again, but he's already through the turn at that point.
Now, someone needs to tell Swain that he doesn't get extra points for however many seconds ahead he is, but he's definitely going to put his stamp on this. I wonder if he had an issue in qualifying that started him from this far back. King, once again, making that 25 driver sweat just a little bit here. Will she make a desperate move? Maybe have a dive to try and send it into 2. She's going to go for it. Gives a little bit of a tip to the back of the 25, then gets some of that same medicine from Winkler. They all stay in position.
Yeah, she tried to square that corner off, and you really can't do it. Once you become square, you become a target. And you saw that with Winkler having a little contact with her. Plus, didn't help her at all when it came in to get into Salas.
Keaton Swain off the final turn and across the start-finish line takes the win in heat number 4, the last of the night. Grady's going to finish in P2, and Vicente Solis is going to get a P3 in this heat, advancing on Crystal King, Sean Winkler, Nicholson, and Johnson, will have to head to the last chance qualifier. There you can see the finishing order for our drivers, which will take us to a quick break. And then we're going to head to the last chance qualifier here for the 2023 General Tire National Series.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers. Welcome back to Wild West Motorsports Park. We're watching round 2 of the 2023 General Tire National Series, and it's the last chance qualifier, the first of 2 this evening, with Scott Kerr starting on the pole position and Justin Kay on his outside. It'll be Paul Mikulajic in P3, John Binder in P4, and Bryce Simoneau in the 5th position. Then it's James Burke in 6th, Cody Wieniecki in 7th, and Christopher Plumley, who definitely has more speed than this 8th place implies, starting from the very back of the field. It's once again only the top 3 advance, but now the pressure is on, Dave.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you've already got beaten up in the heat race. Now you got to go fight your way again in the LCQ.
Just waiting for the last of the grid to finish here. I know we've got them all out there, but they have a small hold. Now that we've got the commercials done, they should be able to take off momentarily. You can see a few of them eager to accelerate already. With Kerr having the track advantage, probably going to be shutting that door as soon as he can down into the first turn to try and avoid losing out, knowing how anxious some of those from behind are going to be to try and move forward. Should see the pace truck peel off. There it goes. And the green flag is out. It's a good start for the 84. Scott, though, has practically been pushed up the hill by Mikulajic at first. Now he's going to be able to find some space, but he goes a little bit deep off the corner. Mikulajic's too far inside. He gets caught up. It's a battle for P2 between himself and Justin Kay.
And Justin looks like he's going to try to come up the inside there and hold that inside line. And you can see if he can get it to rotate there. Oh, going around a couple of contacts there. Looks like Simoneau rubbing off the wall also.
My goodness, it's definitely getting aggressive down into there as we ride on board with Bryce in the 07. The first driver not to advance as they sit currently, but he's plugged up behind both Mikulajic and Kay. They all bound into turn 4, and he's going to be able to get underneath, but it doesn't look like he's got the acceleration off the turn.
Boy, I'm glad they're not going to make a liar out of me. Watching it's going to get physical, like I said, the LCQ. Well, it's getting physical out there, that's for sure.
Absolutely, and even fewer laps this time. Oh, Plumley's made up a bunch of spots, but he just hit the K-rail himself. He's going to fall back down to 6th. That scuppers at least one of the positions that he had gained.
And a great shot from Plumlee as he looks up there right behind and trying to get up on Binder. And looks like one of the drivers got spun out there, was it?
That was Kay actually rolling over once again.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, hitting his namesake rail, unfortunately, on the inside.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I just caught that.
It just hit me as I started to say his name. Here it is. Just, again, another driver to take it too shallow, and he pays the price.
So we're just going to call that K's rail.
Yeah, apparently he did that to himself, unfortunately. But up at the front, Kerr still leads. Mika Logic promoted to second. Now Simoneau is in a transfer spot, but he still has trouble because John Binder's been trying to see if he can relieve him of P3.
Yeah, you can see that big Sundrop logo trying to go up the inside. Look at this, Plumlee. A little contact there, forcing the way through. Gets by Binder.
Wow, this is incredible progress from Plumlee at a track that we have told you just how tough it is to try and overtake. He's up to fourth. If he can make one more spot, he is going to make it through.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a spot on his truck. It hasn't rubbed on something out there.
You can see he's missing that right front fender already. And as they fly down across the start-finish line, white flag waves. He's going to have to go by Bryce in that 07. Is that snake liveried truck going to give way? He's going to leave the door open, and he almost goes over. He is going to go over. And for the second time today, Christopher Plumlee is left turtled.
He definitely rolled the dice on that one. Went a little hot, got on those binders a little late, and unfortunately it bit him.
Rolled the dice? Is that intentional?
Yes, I believe so.
All right,
yes,
then.
That was.
Scott Kerr is still leading the way in the 84 with a gap of about 1 second over Mika Logic. It's last lap. It happens so fast, these LCQ races. And he is going to take the win and make sure that he goes to the big show. Mika Logic also advances from P2. And Simoneau survives the almost attack there from Plumlee to take P3. For Burke, it's over. For Binder, it's over. For Kay, it is done tonight when Yeki is out. And sadly, so is Plumlee, who actually, Plumlee just passed him right at the line. He must have gotten turned over somehow there and was able to carry on. There is your finishing order. Top three, we'll see those again. Everybody else, you can say goodnight as we head to the B main. And Colin Murphy starts on the pole for this one. Crystal King is going to be starting from P2. Daniel Aish is going to be in P3, and Sean Winkler in fourth. After that, inside of row 3 sees Zach Drapkin. Outside will be Dennis Mickelson. Cameron Magashik starts 7th, and Greg Johnson is 8th. This is it. Last opportunity to make it through and make sure that you don't have to park it. This time, thankfully, don't have as long of a wait for the drivers before we get rolling on this one. And we saw just before what to expect here, as there's going to be nobody holding back, knowing there's little blues, especially this late in the season. If you're not in that championship hunt, you might as well try and go for it. Honestly, if you are in the championship hunt, you're in this LCQ, you probably made some sort of major error up to this point. As we wait for the green flag, and there it is. Colin Murphy's going to lead them away down in the first turn. Crystal King's got a challenge from the 33 of Aish to the inside as they chuck it into the corner. Aish is actually going to be able to squeak through, and it's an absolute traffic jam.
Man, he literally threaded the eye of the needle on that one. That was great. Aish, a little bit of contact, but it kept him, pretty much straight on it. Drapkin up in that qualifying position. But, before I speak, Crystal King goes right up to the second, and Drapkin goes up and over.
To be fair to Crystal, she did get hit from behind by somebody on her way in there, so I wouldn't put the blame on her. Mickelson, though, is the one that moves into P2, and in fact, I think he was the one that got into her, and Mickelson may have even got a touch from Sam Winkler, so it was just a domino effect as somebody else is into the wall on the back. Drapkin having to back it up and turn it around even to get back into this race, but look at this. Murphy leads by almost 2 seconds. Mickelson P2. King trying to get up there in third, and they're still banging on one another as Winkler is just coming in hot everywhere he goes.
Yeah, Winkler's really trying to carry this momentum in there. Unfortunately, it's not going to do him any favors if he takes himself out. But it's when he goes to this right-hander, it's always gnarly. And you can see everybody back it down. Drapkin's just got to be so frustrated back there right now, I bet.
His day is not going well at all, as Daniel Aish as well. He's down 3 positions. He should have been in a transfer spot from here, but he is now finding himself well at the back of the field. We've already had Plumley try and climb his way through, but unsuccessfully. We watched Drapkin and just the distance. Everybody's specs up there, and that has got to be demoralizing.
Yeah, definitely. I say that on board with Drapkin. He's trying to, channel his internal R.J. Anderson there in the Pro 4. But I'll tell you, that's a rough one. You're in a qualifying position. But you know who's been in that position before? Crystal King. She's been in a qualifying position. She's been booted. She's flipped over. She's had issues like that. So they've all been there.
Yeah, it seems to be a common occurrence, and I definitely heard some moans from drivers as they got rolled over on that first lap. Speaking of rollovers, Daniel Aish looks like he's the latest, and that one was done to himself in a very strange way. We'll try and see if we have time to look at it later, but he climbed up the rear of another car to wind up rolling it. As we come to the last lap, Mickelson does have to be a bit concerned. I would definitely not want Crystal King behind me, knowing that she's going to be eager to try and take the spot. She gets held up on the jersey barrier on the inside, but she holds off Winkler.
Well, that's something you don't want to take a chance on it there, because that's a qualifying position. You might just throw it out the window.
Here's the replay on Daniel. Yeah, they must have somehow managed to touch wheels, and it just sent him up and over, and he couldn't do much about it. As we head back up the hill, and Murphy has that track just to himself. There is nobody around at this stage. He'll win the last of the LCQs, indeed, as he will advance on to the feature. Mickelson will from P2, and Crystal King will squeak by in third ahead of Winkler. Magashik will not make it. Greg Johnson won't. Drapkin and Aish, unfortunately, going to have to park it from here. There's your finishing order from the last of them. And the final LCQ. That's going to take us to another break, but don't worry, we have the feature coming back at you very shortly. There's going to be plenty of action and lots more racing with our 22-lap main event.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers.
Welcome back to Wild West Motorsports Park. We're here for the feature race in just a moment. And Dave, we asked the question on whether or not anybody learned anything from the last round to take towards this one. And I think they did, because we've definitely seen some surprises.
Well, I think in the heat race we saw the surprises. Well, there were no surprises in the LCQ because we knew they were going to get rough. They knew the elbows were going to come out. We knew the shoes were going to come out. And they were going to start shoving guys around, and we saw that for sure there. But this one did not disappoint. And I think our top drivers, like Connor Berry, who we saw is going to be, came out of the heat race, the first one to win. He had struggled on last Thursday. He figured something out. Swain, he's always in there. He's always consistent though too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be difficult to fight against, but we'll see what happens here as we head to the starting grid for the feature here today. Jacob Raffis starting on the pole as Trenton Briley will be in P2, and Connor Berry begins from third. His rival for the championship is directly beside him, Keaton Swain. Jared Liebert will be P5 and Felix Roy 6. After that, it's going to be Keith Jeffrey in 7th and Tom Grady in a P8. Then it's Tyson Miller in the 9th spot and Nicholas Dachelet in the 10th position. Among the second half of the field, Mason Prater will start in 11th. Vicente Salas will be P12. And it's Scott Kerr starting from 13th, getting into the drivers that were in the LCQ. Colin Murphy starts 14th, and Paul Mikolajic in 15th. Then Dennis Mickelson starts P16. Bryce Simoneau will start from 17th, and Crystal King last on the field in the 18th spot. We'll get an extra pace lap on this one that is planned. Thankfully, we do know that this is supposed to happen. So they'll get a chance to try and warm up and get ready to go. But can anybody catch Raffis? And considering the gaps that we saw in all 4 of those heat races, this is going to be interesting to watch with those top 4, if any of them has an edge over the other.
Yeah, especially since there's no inversion on this. The top qualifiers are up front, and I think they're going to have the edge. This is the type of track you get out in that top 4 to 5 positions, you pretty much got a good chance of staying up front there. And I'm going to say probably 8 out of 10 times the guy up front is going to take the win. For most of the race, not that's obvious.
Yeah, we have to remember that we've got the competition caution that'll clump them back together, and that will offer an opportunity that may not have been there. So you do have to be worried about that partway through the race. Out of that last corner, the pace truck is releasing them now. Raffis has control, waiting patiently, and there it is. Green flag is out. He gets a pretty good jump. Looks like Barry is not waiting around. He's going to try and pass Briley up into the first corner if he can just make it off, but it's going to be slick on that inside line. Looks like he does get it done.
Raffis with a great run, though. I'm going to say Connor Berry, Trenton Briley, and there's Keaton Swain. Keaton Swain, though, is going to have to fight his way up there. You can see also Liebert trying to get in the mix now as they come out of turn number 2. And it looks like fairly clean coming out of there. That's what I wanted to see in the main event.
Amazingly, nobody rolled it this time down through turn 2, but we'll see if they can make it the rest of the lap. Definitely got a few that are climbing the inside barrier up through 3, but still nobody up and over. They complete lap 1. Raffis leads Barry, leads Briley for your podium.
And Raffis, I'll tell you, he's already starting to stretch it out a little bit and see how it's all going to play out here. Is Briley handing Barry and slowing him down a little bit? And then you got Liebert trying to get into the mix. That's going to be question, but where's Swain? Right up the inside.
He's trying to make up spots here. He does not want to lose anything to Barry because we have precious few rounds left to go. And unfortunately, sitting in 5th with Barry in P2 is not looking good. It is still tight down through that second corner as drivers desperate to make positions. Long way around the outside for Swain. Doesn't produce anything. The 01 will hold on to P4.
Liebert trying to do everything he can, like I said, to keep off Swain. But Briley is definitely going to be tough for Liebert to deal with, too.
That is for sure. Almost an opportunity there for Swain that time, coming out of the final turn. But the 10, not the 01 that I called earlier.
Yeah,
is,
I got you.
Yeah, Liebert is still ahead. He goes a little bit wide, though. And Swain is going to be able to get just inches in front of him. Unfortunately, he's on the outside of the lone right-hander. Can he hang tough here?
And Swain going around the outside there, too, trying to take the long way around. Little contact there with the wall. You can see some trucks rubbing off that Jersey barrier.
Coming off of turn 3 now and back up the hill, still nose to tail. Top drivers are starting to skitter away. Raffis leads, Barry second, Briley third. They've got a gap of about 7/10 over Jarrett Liebert. From there, it's pretty much nose to tail with Swain, Jeffrey, Roy, Salas, Dashilet, Mickelson. Nobody is giving each other an inch.
Yeah, Barry looking pretty calm there, and that's what you want to do. You got to have those loose hands, keep the death grip away from grabbing that steering wheel. And that's the key. Even, the real trucks, you got to have a light touch. You got to be able to feel the truck. Because with that force feedback on those wheels, it lets you know what that thing's doing.
And without the G-forces of real life, you got to try and make sure that you let it just give you the feedback it's supposed to. Is Tom Grady getting his elbows out and trying to take away the spot from Prater. Instead, he's going to get overtaken by Scott Kerr, who moves up into 13th with that one. Back up to Keaton Swain. And unfortunately, Liebert is going to fend him off once again. Unfortunately, looks like Keith Jeffrey is going to take this opportunity to try and make life a little bit difficult for the pair of them.
Yeah, Swain's really having a little bit of a struggle there. Keeps on looking up the inside there. Oh, man, Liebert filled up that hole, and Swain had nowhere to go with the K-roll.
Don't think you're supposed to be perpendicular to the track there at that point, unfortunately. And he's going to get another shove as Keith Jeffrey almost pushing him around the turn and down to the inside. A smooth move from Felix Roy. He gets a 2-for-1. Almost.
Yeah, there's a lot of over-rotation we're seeing out of these drivers. They're going a little too hot. They're trying to carry too much speed in the turns, and that's what happens.
Swain somehow comes back at him. I thought he was going to lose that spot. Oh, a little too hot into the turn. Felix Roy over-eager, and instead he's going to lose a couple of those positions right back. Salas moves up to 7th, and Jeffrey back into 6th.
Well, the thing that's blowing me away is looking where Miller is right now, back so deep in the field. Last week's winner, the 12th. I mean, you don't have a great qualifier. You get caught up in the back of the pack. Really slowed you down. The Prater back there too. Dashilet, Roy.
Yeah, it's a stark contrast to what we saw before. He's going to get to the inside of Kerr, and he's not going to be able to finish the job. Now he'll be back on the outside in through 3. It's starting to look like that line is widening, but not enough for the 90, and Scott's going to be able to hold him back. They're going to stay a little side by side coming up into turn 4 once again, and Scott suddenly finds himself having to play defense. Grady trying to make the move to the inside.
Yeah, that was a great move to the inside. He was trying to make it work, just couldn't get it to be completed there. Oh, a little contact there.
Oh, a lot of contacts. Dashilet goes up and over, and he's not going to be able to. Oh, no, he is going to be able to get it right. But he's going to be right in the way. And thankfully for Colin, he's not going to run into him. Just backed up in time. Dashilet moves back to the end of the field. The good news for him is that we do have that competition caution pretty soon. He's still on the lead lap, so he'll be back in the hunt. Up at the front, Raffis is still leading Barry by about a second. Maybe not using his stuff at this moment, just wanting to hold on to those tires, yet keep the track position, knowing that I believe at the end of this lap, I think we will get, 2 more laps, we'll get the competition caution bunching them up.
Yeah, this thing's going to happen quick, too, because we're lap 8, like I said, halfway through the race, comp caution comes out, we re-rack, restack them. And I think it's going to be a whole other race that we're going to see there, Joe.
Curious if they have this style of racing or anything equivalent over in Norway. I can't remember if it's Norway or Sweden that he's from. I'll have to double check on that. But Club Scandinavia includes both here on iRacing. And Jacob, one of the few non-North Americans racing in this series, has made a pretty big splash. Has already got a victory this season. Miller very close on the back of Tom Grady just in front of him, but can't get the launch off the corner. Still trying to even just reach the top 10 in this race, and yet he was vying for the win last time out.
Yeah, and looking at Tyson Miller's times right now, I mean, it's pretty much a 50.079, the fastest lap he's had so far, compared to Raffis with a 49.02. Now looking at Miller's times last week, he was in the 49s. You get caught up in that traffic, it's going to slow you down.
Clean air is everything around here. As they head around turn 3, still not quite to that yellow being thrown. And the 90 knows it. The more positions he can make up now, the better for him. As we look back from Scott Kerr, this is on the battle between Grady and Miller. Miller's going to be able to get inside quite easily, and that moves him up into 11th now. Scott next on his list.
Yeah, trying to work his way through these guys, just pick them off slowly but surely. You know, every point's, going to matter for these guys. You're not going to possibly win the championship, but you want to get up there, get in the top 10, you want to crack the top 5. Well, you got to be consistent.
With so few races left to go, see who has enough consistency to at least try and keep Connor Berry honest for that crown, which is he's been so tough to topple out here in this series. As they fly up the jumps into turn 4, you can see the back of the pack is starting to finally spread out just a little bit. Crystal King's been making moves. She's up 5 positions from dead last on the field.
Yeah, I'm going to say pretty impressive. I'm watching her just slowly just chip away. Getting by Simonow, Mikolajic, Murphy, Dachelet having some issues big time. And of course, Mickelson down a lap now.
And they throw the competition caution, so they all start to slow up. The only other driver comparable to Crystal out there is Solis, who is up 4 spots right now and is into 8th position. So they will let them all catch back up. We did have one truck a lap down. That is Mickelson. I expect them to park it and allow the 41 to catch back up. Here's all our different feeds that we have from literally all over the world for us, as we've got not just our Scandinavian friend, but Daniel Aish, who sadly is not participating in this one, hailing from Club Australia/New Zealand. That's another one you don't want to mix up which one they are from. Everybody else is from various parts of North America. We've got some Canadians out here today, drivers that hail from the Midwest, Pennsylvania, club drivers, Illinois. Of course, off-road racing, you got to have a Californian or two in there racing today. But certainly quite a bit of representation here amongst our drivers. And what I think is a shame is not a more popular form of motorsports, because it never ceases to entertain me. I can't imagine how anybody could watch this and not think I'm hooked.
Well, I mean, they do have a lot of airing on. They got CBS Sports Network. You got Championship Off-Road Racing Series, and it's. But you're right. It's kind of like it's a niche sport, but I have NASCAR drivers and other drivers from other professional sports that ask me, "How's so and so doing?" "Oh, I caught up. I was watching some of the races or saw something on YouTube." And so it's kind of cool to see that, but unfortunately, it really just hasn't splashed the mainstream. It did back in the day, like with Mickey Thompson. We saw a lot of that.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to have quite a rise when I was young, down in the 80s and early 90s, as we go racing once again. And Raffis is going to lead them down to turn 1. Single file on this one, though. It's not double file. And Swain trying to go around the outside, gets himself some clear air. Doesn't seem to get him some positions, though. It was pretty clean through turn 1, I have to say.
Yeah, I was really surprised, especially, this being the restart here for the main event. You think it's going to get a little heated here, but you know what? So far, let's see what the back of the pack can do through turn 2. And 11 contacts.
Yeah, and Keith Jeffrey is upside down. Oh, Solis almost gets turned as well. The rest of them do get through and carry on, but didn't quite have a clean one that time on the like we did on the very first lap of this race. With Rafa seeing that lead evaporated, Connor Berry's hot on his heels.
Yeah, it's a great run he's heading to. Connor's just trying to have his time. Connor's a smart driver. He knows for a fact that behind him is Swain. Who's behind him in points? It's Swain. Keep Swain behind you, you keep the points lead.
That's probably the most valuable thing he's got to keep in mind here today. A little bit of look to the inside, and actually Connor does a great job trying to accelerate off the turn. He keeps the overlap out into 3, but he's going to get fed to the side, and he'll fall back into P2. He's got to be careful. Trent Briley's looking awful close as we ride on board with him.
Yeah, Barry's definitely riding the bumper there. Raffis for sure. Briley, he's going to try and see at the mix. If these two start to tangle, Briley wants to be in that position to capitalize on it.
And remember, they refreshed the track for this feature race. You can already see a distinct blue groove on the inside of most of these corners. Having all these 18 trucks out there, it is wearing and eating away at it quite quickly. This time, a little nudge puts the 13 a little bit off racing line, and the 2 could maybe try something here into turn 2 once again. But, oh, this time he gets a bit of it on his inside. Trenton Briley shoves him to the side.
Briley with a little love tap there. You see, Connor goes to the inside, takes it right back, fills the hole, and look who's there also. Keaton Swain saying, hey, you guys going to get into it? I want to be involved. I want to play.
Yeah, he is eager to try and make this position up, and he is going to try and get it as he takes P3 off of Trenton Briley. Now he's got Connor Berry in front of him. Surely he's going to try and do something before this race is over. Up into turn 1. He's not close enough that time. He's still having to play a little bit of defenses beside him. Trenton Briley gets an excellent run. We're going to ride with Lieber, a front row seat of the side-by-side action. Down into turn 2. Inside going to Keaton Swain. He doesn't have it completely done. He's going to have to shut the door quickly here. Almost able to do it. Gets edged out just a bit, and he stays ahead of Trenton Briley, but not by much, and this is costing him time to bury.
And yeah, look at this. Briley looking up the inside now. Swain trying to get it back here. With Swain back, like he's sitting back in third. Swain over rotates, and Briley capitalized on it. Briley was in that position earlier. We were watching Barry and Raffis. Now he had to do it back to Swain, but look at this. Swain's going to answer right back. Briley's going to keep that nose up to the inside here for turn number 1. Try and fill the gap here and hold on to that position. He's got to slide over and take it away from Swain, and that's what he does.
Indeed. I think he gave a little help to that rotation for Keaton as he tries to return it but can't with him on the outside. Now he's fully behind Trenton into P3. Barry is gone and actually catching up to Raffis, I think, a little bit up ahead of them. So what could have been a battle to tighten up the championship has started to dissipate. Granted, it's still 7 laps to go. A lot can happen.
That's still a lot of time, Joe. You're right. You know, you make a mistake in 1 lap and you can change it. I've seen it on the white flag before.
We've seen drivers hiccup enough that they've found themselves with pressure to the very end as well. You think about the battle that we had to the finish last time out, and boy, look at this. Connor Berry has now cut it down 0.2 of a second. I believe it was up to 0.7 a little bit earlier in this second stint, and he looks to be a fair bit quicker than Jacob Raffis. It's just Jacob is covering things off as he knows all he has to do is stay solid and keep the door shut.
Yeah, when you're out front, it's your line. You control the lines. You make everybody else work for another line to get around you. That's why you don't leave the doors open. You keep your preferred fast line. Like Raffis, there's a little daylight to the inside, but you have the fast line out, so you don't have to worry about it.
It's the real-world driver versus the plus 10K iRating driver out here as they exit out of turn 1. This time, Connor Berry looks very good off of the turn and is going to be able to get side by side, cuts back to try to pull the over-under, and just about has that nose ahead. It switches back once more into turn 3. This time he's going to try and pull the long way around. Can he make this one stick? They're dead even, coming up towards 4.
It's going to come out to who's going to get on the binders, who's going to outbreak each other there. Raffis going to try and hold on a little bit, keep that speed up there. If he has to, he knows he can lean on Connor, but he doesn't. Connor's going to take it by nose, but, you know, Raffis has that inside line. Can he get over? Is Barry going to fill it?
He's going to try to. Oh, there he manages to turn down in on him just at the right time. The 13 going to try if he can see if he can do the same move to no effect, and Barry is now your new leader.
Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You know, Ralph is going to try and answer right back and give a little medicine right back to Barry. Barry's got to gap him because Ralph is a good driver. He's smart. He knows how to think about these things.
Tried that over-under down into turn 1, but couldn't quite get the bite that Barry somehow found. And you're right, it looks like Connor's making quick distance to try and keep him at bay as we head back to the battle between Swain and Briley. That's not abated at all. And just taking a little bit of the inside berm there, Keaton trying to see if he can find some sort of opening in the armor as, whoa, behind them, it's getting physical.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to find a chink in his armor for sure, because Barry's starting to gap him just a little bit. That means the pressure's off him, but Swain is just really turning on. Look at this, Tyson Miller trying to find his groove.
Felix Roy there overtaken by Tyson Miller to move himself up into P6, 3 wide there coming off of turn 2 between Briley, Swain, and Liebert as they come out of turn 3 and up the hill. Liebert could have a good run. Let's ride on board, looking off the roof cam as he approaches 4. Does he try and shoot one up the inside? No, he's going to stay put.
Swain trying to look that inside, but I'll tell you, Briley is keeping that fast line. He's running right up against the K-rail there, trying to keep his speed up. And boy, oh boy, those laps just keep on clicking down. They're running out of time.
This time he gets it down to the inside. Move Keaton Swain up into 3rd position. Jarrett Liebert now is under threat from the 10, or excuse me, from the 17 rather, and as he breaks early, he basically parks it on that corner, and Briley with a clever move to prevent Liebert from being able to do anything.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man, Swain just backed that sucker into turn number 2. He was completely sideways.
Some very smart racing here in this feature, especially here up at the front. Drivers pulling some incredible stuff. As Mikolajic in the 177, still back in 12th position behind Crystal King. She's now tied with Simino for that hard charger. Both of them have climbed 7 spots.
It's amazing to see him just, like, you know, like you said, just climb through that pack. There are just literally so much talent out there, and to make it through some of those drivers that we saw, it's amazing.
It's been a Herculean effort from both of them. It's commendable, but we're on the white flag lap now, so this is it. It's the end of the race. Jacob, to his credit, he's not given up hope on trying to keep Barry in his sights, but he's a little too far away. Unless something happens to Barry's car out of this turn, this is going to be his race, and he is going to take the win this time and gain back valuable points over Keaton Swain. Raff is second. Swain will at least finish on the podium in 3rd, but he's seen his championship hopes become smaller and smaller. Looks like we'll get the last of them across the line with Prater, Jeffrey, and Solis DNFing today, but 15 of them will see the checkered flag in the end. We're going to take a quick break here for the iRacing Short Course Series sponsored by General Tire. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers.
Welcome back to Wild West Motorsports Park. We just watched our second event in a row here for a makeup race, and Connor Berry is going to take the overall win. Jacob Raffis had the lead for much of that feature, but unfortunately just didn't have enough to hold back the current champion. Keaton Swain was P3, and Trenton Briley finished fourth. After that, Jarrett Liebert was P5. Tyson Miller, who definitely had a number of good fights out there today, was P6, along with Roy, who was 7th, and Tom Grady, P8. Nicholas Dachelet finished 9th, and Bryce Simoneau rounds out your top 10. He made up 7 positions, and so did 11th place Crystal King from the very back of the field. Paul Mikolajic was P12, and Colin Murphy was 13th, and it's Scott Kerr P14. From there, Mickelson was the only other driver to see the checkered flag. Prater, Jeffrey, and Solis were DNFs for today's race. But Connor Berry will join us, having taken another win and getting ever closer to sealing another championship in this series. Connor, you did have to try and catch up and pass Jacob. It looked like he gave you a hard time for it.
Yeah, for sure. It was a pretty good race. I knew that I would be kind of like a slower car on track towards the start because of my setup, but I knew as soon as the track was bad that I would be the best car. And it showed, and I was able to get around him in turn number 3 and win.
Now, you weren't able to take the win last time out. I believe you finished 4th in the feature. What was the difference between Thursday and today?
Just a starting spot. We ran the same tune, and we qualified P1, and then inside the heat we just got bullied, and we had to start 8th, I think. So to come up to 4th was for sure hard, but it was still a good spot, and it's just about being smart.
I mentioned on your way into the booth here that you're getting closer to claiming the championship with this win. How confident are you feeling for, I think it's the last 2 rounds that we have, or is it 2 or 3?
We have
Double
7,
check here.
8, 9, and 10, so 4. So I think I got a pretty good shot. We got Wild Horse this Thursday, which I think I can win that, which will be good. And then we go back to Crandon Short, which I think I can do good there also. I think the one I need to make sure that I can be good at is going to be Bark. I've always have been a tad off there, so I need to go to work there. But besides that, I think that we are in a pretty good spot.
It certainly seems like it. You've built a handy gap up to now. Congratulations on another win. I believe number 3 of the season. Anybody you want to thank?
For sure, a big thanks to CBR, General Tire, Nitro Circus team. We put in a lot of work, and we went 1 and 2 inside the main event, so it is starting to show, and I hope that we can keep it going.
Great stuff there from our winner, Connor Berry, here today at Wild West. Looks like Dave's caught up with Jacob Raffis, who unfortunately wasn't able to hold back the champion, but still got P2.
Jacob Raffis, a little bit different result from last Thursday. I know you were sitting up on top. Did you learn anything from last Thursday to today's round, the makeup round? You know, the same track?
Yeah, for sure. Me and Connor, I still saw Connor had a little bit better pace than me than at the end. But yeah, we managed to get a 1-2, and I'm happy with that. It's good for the team.
Well, you guys are like, the quasi-Nitro Circus teammates, Do you think about that when you two are racing up there, not to take each other out? Is it something, or is it all gloves off?
Yeah, for sure. Trying to have respect for each other, not crushing or not make any heavy contact. It will look good on the stream.
And it doesn't do any good for the points for either one of you at that point. But talk about this track. It's a very unique track. Not a lot of places to pass. There's a lot of high speed, but turn one and turn two pretty much set the tone.
Yeah, for sure. I had a really good pace through all the event actually, but when it came to the slick stuff and at the end, I was struggling a lot, so I got to work on something that the next time.
So that exit out of turn two into three, were you struggling a little bit there? Is what you're saying? A little slick coming out of there?
Yeah, a little slick, little understeer on the turn-ins.
It's a little bit of a problem, but and coming off the top, the final turn coming down the hill, it looks like you had a good line there each time. Connor wasn't able to catch you there, so you feel that turn two to three was pretty much where you got to work on then to fight with Connor if you ever when you come back to this track.
Yeah, for sure. I know there's some set that wasn't slick, but I didn't manage to put that on. But yeah, I'll try to get better, and let's see if we can get one step higher on the podium next time.
Well, we're looking forward to see what you're going to do at Wild Horse, a totally different track for sure. Any thoughts going into that round?
Yeah, for sure. It's a fun track. I was very surprised here last time because I didn't expect P3 in qualifying, but yeah, and yeah, I've also been struggling there, but somehow I was not struggling there.
Well, I know it's a late one there for you. You probably want to get a little shut eye. So I know there's some people you probably want to thank for this performance.
Yeah, for sure. I give a shout out to Nitro Circus Racing Team, Sim Racing Team, and Next Level Racing, and Sim Magic and Sim Racing IS, and of course for Zach making all the paints in the team and stuff. Zach Knowles.
Well, congratulations, and we're looking forward to see what you're going to do this Thursday. I believe Joe's caught up with Keaton Swain.
Indeed, I have. Third place this time. Unfortunately, a step down from what he did before, but back-to-back podiums got to feel pretty good. So let's talk about the race, though, Keaton, because it seemed like both halves, you just were constantly fighting somebody.
Yeah, definitely. I had to really fight for that one. Get back up on the podium here. Had a decent starting position, but fell back one spot and then played catch up a little bit. And obviously, these first two turns, it's all about just not getting ran over from behind. It stacks up real quick. So we were able to do that. And then once it got spread out, I just put my head down and tried to lay down some good laps, and was able to reel in Liebert there before the yellow a little bit. And then luckily after the restart there, he was nice enough to let me go by. As you know, I was a little bit quicker, and there's no point of holding someone up for no reason. So big thanks to him for giving me a chance to go fight for a podium. Obviously, it made it a lot easier.
Yeah, unfortunately, looked like Trenton didn't make it as easy for you, and you were getting close to Connor when you approached the back of him there. If it weren't for that fight, do you think you could have maybe kept up with Connor and give him a run for his money, or was he quicker than you today?
I definitely would have liked to have a chance at it. Once I saw the door open there, I tried to sneak my nose in and got pinched down a little bit. But then, me and Trenton were going at it for the rest of that race, and it was quite a gnarly battle. I haven't had to work for one like that in a long time. So, obviously, it was a good race. Nothing dirty, just hard racing. And but I don't know if I would have had anything for Connor. Connor's fast, but I definitely would have liked to have found out.
Another smaller circuit next time in Wild Horse. How do you feel about your chances heading off there?
We had a good finish there. Last time we were there, we got second to Connor. So, we'll just keep putting in the laps, and hopefully got to work on my qualifying a little bit. It's been my weakness here as of late, and it's hard to pass on these tracks and in these trucks. So I just work on that a little bit, and hopefully I can start in front of Connor and then have him try to pass me.
That sounds like a good plan to me. Congratulations, Keaton, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you when we head off to the next round.
Thank you. I just got to thank Appliance Parts Company, Factory Sim Sport, ZK Designs, Sim Coach Pedals, everyone that helps out Connor's League, and you guys.
Keaton Swain, third place here in the feature this evening, which wraps us up, of course. So don't forget to join us when we come back again this week, Thursday, March 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern for Wild Horse Pass. And a big thank you to the organizers at General Tire National Series, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, Dave, Ryan, Cam, and Dougie. Also, none of this is possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the General Tire National Series. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.
Whatever you do, General Tire delivers.